Now, despite Drake having a busy weekend where he dropped off 3 new tracks as part of his 100 Gigs collection and then proceeded to add even more footage of him creating some of his most iconic albums to the 100 Gigs website to make people remember the good old days when he was actually beloved by the near entirety of the hip-hop world. As the videos of Drake had nowhere near the same buzz that the first set of Lost Media did, and the only part of Drake's 3 new songs that really gained any sort of traction were his lyrics that were vaguely alluding to spinning things back on Kendrick Lamar after months of their beef seemingly being over. It seemed like Drake had officially reached a rock bottom in terms of his popularity as an artist and brand, because we have never seen people just care less about what he was doing. But now, as everyone was walking away from all this, Drake has shifted the spotlight back on him, and has now gotten the most attention he pretty much has this entire summer after the conclusion of the Kendrick beef, as on his burner Instagram account Plot Twist that has been set up to try and make him look like he has never been better following the Kendrick beef, and that has been alluding to something much greater that will be coming. After non-stop spam of some of the most annoying and most laughable attempts at trying to look deep for weeks, Drake has finally made a successful move with this account that has grabbed people's attention, as by posting a video of former Detroit Pistons basketball player Rasheed Wallace, where he said, "Y'all put it on the front page, back page, middle of the page. We will win game 2. Drake has hinted to the fact that he is going to be dropping more diss tracks aimed at Kendrick very soon. And now, to add context to this clip, as Wallace said this after the Pistons lost Game 1 in the second round of the 2004 NBA playoffs against the Indiana Pacers, and the Pistons of course went on to defeat the 1-seeded Pacers 4-2 in the series, and then went on to beat one of the most star-studded teams of all time in the finals with the LA Lakers in just 5 games. There is a lot loaded into this Drake Instagram story, and it is revealing to us more about what is up his sleeve than any of his features or new songs have, and considering the state of hip-hop right now, as using Rasheed Wallace, the Pistons, and this clip as a mouthpiece for him, Drake is labeling himself as the underdog right now, as this team of course went on to pull off one of the greatest upsets in all of sports this century, as they defeated a Lakers team with Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and multiple other Hall of Famers. And Drake isn't just doing this to show the road that may be ahead of him and the odds that are against him. Although even looking at this logic, I will note that months ago all of the major players in hip-hop media had Drake as the clear favorite in this beef, despite what listeners thought. But in the greater sense, by picking this clip in this moment, and knowing that the Lakers and Kobe Bryant were defeated, which are of course the team that represents where Kendrick is from, and Kobe is a guy who Kendrick has been compared to time and time again, Drake is trying to line up these two storylines and spread fear by doing this. And now, while Drake is blowing up the rap world once again by letting everyone know that he is not done with releasing music towards Kendrick, although again it is important to note that he did say he was on the Hard Part 6 initially. While everyone is speculating on what this can mean for Drake and the entirety of the rap game, we already gotten rumblings from Kendrick Lamar's team about their reaction to this, and the sneak disses Drake threw out on a track like No Face, as despite Drake hyping this moment up, and then people pushing Kendrick to just stomp on Drake again before he can even get out of his own way and seemingly get to this moment that he is hyping up as Game 2. A friend of Kendrick, Lux, said that after fans were hyping up that if Drake wants this matchup, which as Kendrick alluded to on Not Like Us, that he indeed does have more tracks in stock and will be ready to stomp him. Euro said about this entire situation and Kendrick's next move, in response to what Drake said, "Nah, we leaving the Canadian alone. Everybody just working at this moment, so just stay tuned." And now with this, well, based on everything in the Kendrick camp and comments like these, it does seem somewhat vague about what their plans actually are, as the camp is still alluding to the fact that something is coming very soon. What is clear from this is that Team Kendrick is not going to be running out because of a few sneak disses or an IG story, and get ready for another chapter of all-out lyrical dueling, which on one hand, at this moment they shouldn't, because Kendrick has absolutely nothing to prove, and also aside from what Kendrick has directly done, Drake has been doing any sort of job that they needed to finish for them, by just making himself look worse and worse with every single thing he has done this summer. So now, at this point, what Kendrick is doing just by default is letting Drake control the tempo, because based on his current track record, it somehow gives them better odds of winning, as opposed to even if they decided to do anything, because with all of this motion from Drake, which despite cryptically teasing that he isn't done with Kendrick and that a round 2 was coming, as his reputation has plummeted so low, as we all know, from not just watching the quality of his music reach an all-time low, but from also seeing one of the most powerful brands in all of music's chart potential and streaming numbers decrease exponentially as well. If he really is serious about trying to start a round 2 and wants to release more music and diss tracks aimed at Kendrick is going to be calling his bluff and giving him the lane to do this. But now, as the idea of a round 2 is gaining more and more steam because Drake is getting louder and louder about it, as we are somewhat entering uncharted territory for Drake, as he is going to be calling out Kendrick Lamar again in full force. You have to sit here and question if Drake realizes the full risk of doubling down on a beef that went just about as bad as it could have for him. Because first off, by doing this, Drake is going to split his brand fully away from being the one-of-a-kind hitmaker and gigantic musical force that can pump out massive moments at such a quick rate like few others ever have been able to, and he is going to be shifting it into becoming the guy who can't get over the fact that he lost to another artist, which in of itself is only going to make him seem bitter and insecure about his own self just because of how vocal he is about doing this, which then in turn, and this is why I really don't think that Drake is thinking all this through, will only help Kendrick's agendas against him become stronger. Because no matter how Drake responds, he will indirectly build on what Kendrick left off on, which will then only make general audiences remember Drake for all of his weird actions, which made what was thrown out against him stick in the first place even more. And now when you look at all this from this angle, it really seems like something so reckless for the future and longevity of Drake's career and for the dignity of his legacy that it almost reminds you of the foolishness that forever ruined somebody like Ja Rule's reputation following when 50 Cent humiliated him. And now because of all of this, with the stakes never being higher for Drake, what the tallest order out of this round 2 will be is that because of the hole he has dug himself in, he needs to now accomplish more than just a regular all-time great diss track ever does. Because in order to shift the narratives that have been spun onto him away and make Kendrick look awful, on top of making a record that has all of the prerequisites for a diss track in terms of its top tier lyricism, it's also going to have to respond now to Not Like Us, which will then also require it to have an infectious instrumental that will allow for mass consumption and repeat listens. And now on top of all of this and making this equation all the more harder, Drake is going to have to now somehow dig up dirt and reveal information about Kendrick that is about as lethal and head-turning as what Pusha T told us about him on the story of Adidon. And now with this all being the bar that is required for Drake not just to make a great song, but for him not to humiliate himself by coming back around for a round 2, as he is going to have to make a hit song that is loaded with information that can actually damage the person he is targeting more than just lies could or by calling him short, just to even get any sort of legitimate respect or momentum back. Drake has a near impossible task to accomplish, and as we have already seen his performance in round 1 of the beef, it's hard to believe that this time around things would be any different, but as Drake has had months to move around and think about new angles to approach Kendrick with, despite everything else we have seen from him, which has shown that he has never been worse as an artist and a rapper. Maybe he does have something in store that can actually help him from not being the biggest failure in music, but it does not seem likely, and by Drake doing all this seems like a way for him that well may give him attention and excitement that has been missing from his name with every single thing he has done during this time following the beef. Overall, it is only going to burn out the rest of his career faster than ever, and if all of this goes even half as wrong as the first round of this beef went with Kendrick, I know it sounds crazy to say with the train wreck we have already seen, but Drake would really be pushing his career into a corner that would not just make him seem like one of the biggest sore losers there has ever been, but it will ruin not just the present, but the past and future of his career. As by never being able to escape this one moment, he is going to recontextualize his entire image in the cultural zeitgeist, and as a result is going to stain his image within a light that only somebody like Ja Rule could ever even come close to. And the fact that this is the conversation we are having already says enough about where this is all headed. So now with all this said, let me know, what do you think of Drake getting ready for round 2 with Kendrick, and how do you think this is all gonna go? I can't wait to hear what you have to say, and if you want to see how Drake's new track, No Face, addressed Kendrick Lamar and is teasing what may come in this upcoming diss track, check out the suggested video.